chose to give us their time today. So we're very, very thankful for that. We'll just get to know them a little better, get to know their business a little better, and we'll then follow up with a quick presentation around our research and findings into the wellness industry. It will hopefully give everyone here who's a wellness professional some insight into where the industry is going, how the current times are affecting the industry, and really what you can do to sort of put yourself ahead and really make use of this time that, while it certainly is a crisis, is also a time of tremendous opportunity for anybody in the wellness industry. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our interviews. So today we are joined by three wonderful, wonderful coaches, Christian Hartley, Andrew Jobling, and Sabrina Bolin. We're going to be just speaking with them and getting to know them a little bit better. Just so everyone knows, the order today will be for Christian, Andrew, or Christian, Sabrina, and then Andrew, and we'll just be asking them some questions around them and their businesses. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Christian, and I see that you're unmuted, Christian. Thank you very much. And I will go ahead and get started. So Christian, can you, I've spoken with you a few times, but I don't want to take the wonderful words out of your mouth. So I'll let you introduce yourself. And if you could just please give us an introduction for yourself and, a little bit about what your coaching business looks like.
Yes, hello everyone, and I'm excited to be here to see all your beautiful faces. I love Zoom. It allows us to see people and see their faces, even if it's just a picture. But I'm Christian. I am an empowerment coach. I am a ICF's accredited professional certified coach, and I decided to do become a coach about 5 years ago. Went through the training and tried to find my niche, didn't really know what it was at first. But then I found that I love to work with coach the people that I work with. So I started coaching in the workplace and found that people just like me were having a hard time finding balance in life. I live in LA, California, and we have tremendous traffic here. If you're from California, well, not so much now, but about 6 months ago, traffic was really tough. So it was the, everyday grind of, sitting in traffic, getting to work, working a 9 to 5, getting home in another hour and a half of traffic. And I wasn't the only person struggling with this. There was plenty of people struggling with this. So I wanted to help people, our employees, more or less, find balance so that they're able to live a productive home life and a productive work life. So that's what I do. I empower clients to find balance in all areas of life. And I do that by helping them prioritize and identify what's important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Christian. So, how did you go from really that idea that you wanted to coach to actually finding your first customer and kind of setting up that business?
Yeah, so in the workplace, I was coaching. I didn't really even know I was coaching. So I was helping people and didn't really know. I just love helping people, right? So I just wanted to help people, set their goals, achieve their goals. I didn't really know that I was coaching and that I had clients. And then all of a sudden one day it was like a light bulb came on and was like, hey, you know what? You're really helping people. Let's get some training behind this. And, let's take the proper steps to, really help these people and really, help them succeed beyond just having conversations with them. So I was just helping people, family, friends, coworkers. And then after I went through training, it was kind of like a forceful thing where we had to find clients. So, but the clients still kind of fell naturally. It was a natural thing that was coming to me, and I would find people in grocery stores, just starting conversations with people in grocery stores, or shopping. I think I attract people naturally just in conversation. So I was naturally attracting people, and I found my first client in Bond's grocery store. Just having a natural conversation.
That's amazing. So really, getting yourself kind of out there and having those conversations, really showing that, you are a person to approach seems like.
Yes, and I also think that identifying myself as a coach, like me identifying myself as a coach, so once I start labeling myself as a coach, like, so I have this philosophy in my coaching that your thoughts become your destiny. So if I started thinking like a coach, my words became coach-like, and then my actions and my habits, my character. So the more I start thinking as a coach, the words that came out of my mouth were more, I was coaching people. So I believe those words that I was saying, talking to people, drew them in to my coaching practice.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so this is something that we've talked about before in the past, Christian. But you call yourself very purposefully an empowerment coach, right? So how is it that you found your niche? Was that through training? Was that just kind of a natural direction?
I think it was a natural thing. I went from the word bossy to empowerment. So I like to draw people out of their comfort zone, right? So if you want to set a goal, and I'm all about action. So I'm empowering you to, and supporting you, not just empowering you, like making you do something, but empowering you to support you in whatever it is that you want to do. If it's an idea that you have, or it's a business that you already have in place, whatever it is, just really be in that support system that you need, and helping you identify and prioritize what's important to you so that you can get things done.
Right, right. So really looking internally and seeing what your strengths and values were, and really putting that towards your niche, it seems
Exactly. And then also just kind of like bringing out the confidence in people. So helping people find their confidence so that they are able to accomplish what it is that they set forth.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. And so just going into, of course, we're at a little bit of an unprecedented time, to say the least, in our world. So I'm curious, for other folks here who are listening, how has this crisis, the current crisis, impacted your business? Has it impacted your pricing at all? And how are you finding that transition to a more digital world?
Yeah, so I kind of was already Zoom based when I first started coaching. However, I did have in-person clients, and actually, my first corporate client, they signed the contract a week before the stay-at-home order, and that contract was going to be me in person, coaching the employees at that company in person.
Mhm.
So we started off with the first week in person. I had about 10, 15 people sign up in 1 week. I'm like, great, this is awesome. But then the stay-at-home order hit, and everybody had to transition into, working from home and not in the office, including myself. And then the appointment slowed down. So I had to really reach out to them individually and as a group to let them know, hey, just because we're not in the office doesn't mean that, we can't still do this. So it's more, I had to be that encouraging person. And even if I had to send out instructions on how to download Zoom and, have a Zoom conversation, I think the biggest challenge with Zoom, especially with the employees or people at home, was privacy. So with coaching, people wanted, privacy, even if their spouse were at home or the kids, they didn't really want people hearing what they were talking about. So I find that privacy was a little bit of an issue. So there was people needed to find that time when you got a family of four staying at home. Privacy is not really, something that they can get at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had to adjust my hours a little bit. So I would either take clients early in the morning, maybe like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or even later at night. I had a client who would meet with me as late as 10 p.m. at night. So adjusting my hours there. And then also my fee, I decided to go on a sliding scale fee. I had a lot of people question me about insurance for coaching, which at this time, I do not take insurance. I'm not sure if anyone in the coaching world takes insurance right now, but so I decided to do like a sliding scale. I had a certain budget for sliding scale clients, and I gave them certain fees and certain packages for crisis and COVID.
Understood. Understood. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Christian. So, just to wrap up, did you have any last thoughts or any last, ideas you wanted to share?
Yes, I do actually. So I mentioned something earlier before, which is my philosophy that your thoughts ultimately become your destiny. I'm a firm believer in that. So I just want to say, just watch your thoughts because your thoughts do become your words, and it leads to actions, it leads to behavior, habits, character, and who you are. In the long run. So definitely watch your thoughts. Also, I am going to be conducting workshops, a series of workshops for the next 3 months on mind, body, and soul. So Best Being will be given some details about that. So stay tuned for more of that information.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll send that out in a follow-up email for all the registrants. So thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate that insight, and I really appreciate you giving your time and your knowledge for us. So thank you so much, Christian. All righty. So now, if Sabrina, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself, we can get started. So
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. So Sabrina, do you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and maybe give us a little of a look into your practice?
Yeah, thanks, Fernando. And thank you, Christian. It was such a pleasure getting to know you and your mission and your work. So my name is Sabrina Boland, and I am a soul alignment coach and hypnotherapist. And I work with spiritually conscious women who are feeling overwhelmed because they want to make a bigger impact in the world, both in their communities and in their families at home. And they're juggling so much that it's truly hard to find that intuitive discernment. And so I created a framework, my 4C cycle of change, it's a conscious coaching practice that I combine with energy work and hypnosis to guide them from that place of overwhelm to feeling more confident and building up that resiliency so they keep showing back up for whatever their vision is for their life, and really to do the work their soul came here to do.
Wow, that's amazing, Sabrina, and that's we're definitely going to get into that a little bit of a niche because that's certainly a very interesting niche, to get into. But so how did you go from the sort of idea or even the realization that this is what I want to do? I want to help people. I want to be a coach. To actually finding your first customer and setting up the business.
It's interesting that, I like that question because it comes full circle, right? We have all of these bells and whistles, we all have these shiny objects, but at the end of the day, it's like Christian was saying, like she was in Vaughn's and a human being was in front of her and they had a conversation like two humans. So same for me. My first client was actually a referral, and it was just me being human and sharing, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to help other humans with. And someone who was in my world said, I know someone, let me connect you. And that was my first client. And it was so perfectly aligned, because you never quite know, especially when I went with such a specific niche, is this person, can I serve them best? Am I the right person? And I mean, we're still to this day connected and inspiring each other. And I actually started in the online world. So that was actually through, I had written a blog, and that kind of got forwarded along, and that's how that connection was made through that referral. So yeah, it was kind of both in person and online, just being human everywhere we go.
Amazing. So if I understand, oh, sorry about that.
I think your dog objects to my being human statement. Let's be human, or whatever animals we are, everywhere we go. Thanks everyone for coming and for this beautiful awkward moment of staring at each other.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, Fernando.
Yeah, it's the crisis times. What can you do, right? So sorry about that, Sabrina, to interrupt your
no worries.
Interrupt the conversation. So that's very interesting though. You mentioned very specifically that actually your first customer came from a referral, right? So it's interesting that you just kind of started, really what started it was you actually reaching out to people in your network and then them reaching out to people who could be helpful. And I just wanted to, I think that's very interesting thing to mention for folks who might think that, you need to go and speak to people who are going to be your customers. Not necessarily, right? There are people in your network who can help you find your first customers or more customers. So, yeah, that is very interesting. And now back to the niche. You mentioned, that's now something that I'm very interesting. So soul alignment, soul alignment coaching is something that actually before I spoke to you, I hadn't heard of before. And as soon as I did, it really it sparks something, right? It's something that is very, it speaks to you and it makes sense. But how is it that you found that niche?
Well, so it's interesting because I also believe, like Christian was talking about, right, your thoughts become your destiny, but also with thoughts that our language is so empowering, and language can either fuel us forward or hold us back. So where I chose soul alignment from is this idea that instead of talking about our choices being right or wrong, good or bad, right? Taking it out of that binary spectrum, but really looking at it more as in our choices are either aligned or they're not aligned. And when we're looking at what is the metric they're aligned to, because I do bring that spiritual lens, is are they aligned with really what is our soul speaking? And so you can just do that check. That's that intuitive discernment saying, this is not aligned for me. And it may check all the boxes on paper, and it may be what I would think, I should be doing, but it's out of alignment. And so just this language and just even that vision and metaphor, because I am a hypnotherapist as well. And so language as metaphor speaks directly to the unconscious. And so again, this idea of alignment and even the visual, you think about almost like a energetic adjustment and things like that. You're just making these subtle adjustments until you're back in alignment, and recognizing that alignment is not a fixed path either. So that's kind of where that niche was developed from. It didn't necessarily start with soul alignment. In fact, it's funny, I used to call myself a mind, body, soul coach. So you talk about mind, body, soul. But there's obviously a lot of parallels with that. But once I brought in that energy piece, because I have been attuned and trained as an energy worker, and the hypnosis piece, I realized that where those intersections were for so much of that was really about how do we align our actions with not just our thoughts, not just our desires, but even our desires aligned with what are true desires, not just ego desires.
Right, and that's very interesting because, and you'll see this in our presentation, but it really does seem like there's this trend of looking inward, your own unique personal experiences, and allowing that to sort of guide where your niche is. Right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Sabrina. So, and a little bit more about the current times. Again, how has the crisis impacted your business? Do you find, especially for energy work, that's very interesting. Do you find that that's something that is still you're able to do online? Has it impacted your pricing, your strategy? Or
I'm channeling Reiki right now while we speak. So I'm kidding yet not kidding. So I actually, like Christian, I actually started my business online, and I started back in 2012 when kind of doing this online coaching thing was relatively new. So that aspect of it has remained the same. I did have a few in-person clients that we shifted to online, but I think the biggest shift for me through this period, twofold, right? We talk about what we're going through as a collective, which is the pandemic, and also this real awakening to social and racial injustice. And so with these two pieces, I feel like what's shifted in my business is how I show up for my community, but also how I serve, in that I'm shifting it. It's not just about manifesting, let's live our best life, but it's about really, when it comes to alignment, is your best life really aligned with the whole? Is your best life really going to make an impact on the whole for the betterment of everyone? And if not, how do you use that discernment, that intuition, that connection to source to shift? And so for me, it really has started to shift even my language, my messaging, and my approach with my clients. But also speaking to, recognizing that so many are, suffering emotionally, but also suffering financially, and also that not everyone is. And so I have really work to find a balance with owning my worth. I actually signed one of my highest paying clients at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I honor that and I own that, because the work we are doing is creating such value, and she had the means to invest. It felt empowering for her to do so. And I also understand that this is not the case for everyone. And so to open up to be more inclusive is to offer things like, I've been doing more group workshops. I've been offering just more free mini sessions here and there. I have been offering similar kind of a sliding scale. It's actually a scholarship where it's more of an investment, where I'll offer a scholarship, and then as they're able to get back on their feet, they can just whatever donation they want to make back. So really being more creative to be of service that still allows me to recognize that I am a business owner, I am an entrepreneur, and what I'm doing is valuable. And it's good to still own that, right? To not completely discount that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, one of the things that is very interesting is that we'll go over that in our presentation, but we found that there is a lack of education rather than folks not being able to afford mental health services. There's a lack of education around the actual worth of those services.
Yeah.
And so I definitely agree with you. You have to own that and really kind of, you're both a business owner and you're helping people. So I think that's definitely something to own. But thank you so much for sharing, Sabrina. Did you have any last thoughts or ideas you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I felt called to share was, so my signature process is called the 4C cycle of change. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm feeling called to share is that growth, expansion, whatever it is you want to call it, it is not linear, right? And so it is a cycle. And so every time we, take these strides in our life, but all of a sudden we find ourselves kind of back at the bottom of this cycle, it becomes very easy for ego to we flog ourselves or beat ourselves up for not doing the right thing, or maybe for thinking the wrong thoughts or whatever it is. But if we actually see that as part of the process, it just opens up so much to embrace what is. And so, I think to especially everyone on this call, specifically for those who are wherever you are in your spectrum in the wellness journey and the wellness industry, is that no matter where you are, you're not doing it wrong, right? Having an awareness of you're just somewhere different in the cycle, and you just shift to that next step, and that next step bringing more compassion and ease and presence to it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Sabrina. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us this insight. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. And now moving on to our final interview of the day, the wonderful Andrew Jobling. I met Andrew, it feels like 10 years ago. I mean, at this point, it's probably closer to getting to a year now. Andrew and I met.
Compliment or not?
It is a very big compliment because I just consider you one of my good friends. And, again, I feel like I've known you for many years, and really it's crazy how little, we've only met in person once. Is that correct? That's crazy to think about. But very serendipitously met Andrew in San Francisco when we both happened to be there. And we had a wonderful conversation, and we kicked off this relationship. So, Andrew, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do in the wellness industry?
Sure. Thank you, Fernando. And the reason why we've only met once is because I live just on a little island on the other side of the world called Australia. And so
makes it a little difficult.
It's not like we're necessarily just going to bump into each other in the street. Although we did in San Francisco last year. So firstly, thanks, Fernando, and wonderful to be alongside Christian and Sabrina. And thank you, ladies, for sharing very inspiring stuff. I'm just really interested, before I say anything, just to get a gauge of who's actually here. I mean, how many people are here that are actually in the wellness space, or are coaches already, or working in the wellness space, or wanting to work in the wellness space? I mean, can you sort of thumbs up, hands up, just so I get okay. Because, look, thank you. I appreciate the people that have responded to that. My background is an interesting one. The evolution of where I am today is certainly not where I had planned to be. My background is professional sport. So I played professional sport many, many decades ago, before probably most of you were even born. And I've worked in the health and fitness industry for 30 years. So I was a personal trainer for 15 of those years. But my sort of path never really started until I made what I call an accidental decision to write a book, which was published in 2004. So I call myself an accidental author. I'm a very spontaneous. I act on intuition. I don't act on logic, and it leads me down some very expensive and interesting paths, that's for sure. But it's led me to find my purpose, and that is right now and as Fernando knows, I'm on a mission right now to create a wave of wellness around the world. I just see an enormous amount of sickness, mentally, physically, emotionally, and I think the more people that can work together we can make a difference. I'm really passionate about that. So I guess there's lots of things I do, and I love my life. I love what I do. I'm an author. I've got 7 books now. The one behind me you can see is my 7th, and the books have just given me confidence to believe in my voice and my message, and that I can make a difference in this world. So, interestingly and almost accidentally along the way, I've started coaching people that want to write books. So I'm now an author coach. So people that want to write and get published and make money and impact lives, I help people with that. But I do a lot of speaking, as Fernando knows. I speak in schools to teenagers. I speak in corporate. I do a lot of public events. But my whole mission, like the ladies, is really just to help people find their power, believe in themselves, know that they're amazing, and know that, we're on this planet once, and I want to encourage people to live their best life for as long as they can. I call it joyful longevity. My mission is to get beyond 100 years old and not be sitting in a chair with a tube up my nose, rocking and dribbling. My plan is to get to 100 dancing, happy, achieving, loving life, making a difference. And I hope, there are some people on this call that are on that same path or would like to be on that path and inspire people along the way.
Absolutely, Andrew. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And so Andrew, you mentioned, being an accidental author, but of course, you went from writing your first book accidentally to becoming a 7-time best-selling published author and, speaking all around the world. So how is it that you really kind of found that first speaking engagement or, that first person that believed in your wellness vision?
Good question. Good question. Look, I truly believe that we attract who we are, and we attract the person we are and the way we live and the choices we have, the passions we hold, the purpose we strive for. Finding clients is not hard. I mean, there's so many people out there that want help. And I think the biggest mistake a lot of coaches make is pushy, chasey, just trying to get people to do what they think that person needs, and rather than just get good at asking questions, get good at, the ladies have already spoken about, just be authentic, be yourself, just be real and have a genuine desire to want to help people. I just found by living the life, I attracted people, and look, I've got a pretty strategic way now that I continually meet and connect with people. That's how you and I met, Fernando. And I met amazing people. There's a lady on this call at the moment, Andrea. So hi, Andrea. She's over in London, in the UK, and we connected as well. And I've got a very deliberate approach to LinkedIn, but I'm authentic, and I love what I do, and I've got a real heart to help people. And I think you'll meet people, and then once you meet people and you're true to your journey, you'll get word of mouth. Finding people's not hard, and truly isn't hard. You've just got to believe in yourself, believe in your message, believe that you can make a difference, and get out there and live that life, and people will flock to you. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Andrew. And of course, as with anyone, this has been a time of a little bit of change and re-strategizing. But as you've said, Andrew, you've made use of that time, I would say, very well in terms of connections. But how has this crisis really impacted the way that you're looking at your business?
Well, I don't call it a crisis. I call it a opportunity. I call it a transformation. I mean, the last 4 months what I do is absolutely transformed for the better. And whilst tragically people are suffering from coronavirus, but more tragically people are suffering from the fear and uncertainty that comes with this sort of pandemic, and I think largely it's media related why this fear is so bad. And look, we've all been, I'm sure every single person here has been impacted in some way. I'm a speaker. I go into places of business. I go into schools and I speak to hundreds of students. I go into corporates and I speak to people. And I remember a week quite early when things just shut down, and all of a sudden I lost, you know, maybe 5, 6, 7 paid speaking gigs, and I found myself on the floor in fetal position, you know, having a bit of a tantrum. But it didn't take me long to go, okay, well, there's opportunity right now. This is now opportunity, because firstly, it forced me, you know, and I, you know, like the ladies, I've been online and using Zoom for years, but it's forced me to get better at that. It's forced me to really start focusing on the amazing technology that's available. I mean, Fernando, meeting you's been an absolute blessing, you know, because you're the tech dude. I love that I can just say, hey, Fernando, here's an idea. I've got this workshop I want to run, and I just give it to you, and you go bang, bang, crowds organised, platform sorted. Andrew, you just turn up and do what you do. And opportunity, like things are just flooding to me right now. Why? Because not because I'm amazing, not because I'm brilliant, but because I'm open, because I want to make the most of this time, mostly because there are people that need us right now. Everyone on this call, people need us right now. There are so many people that are not dealing with this well. There are people that have lost income. There are people that have, there's mental health issues. There's, you know, family crisis. There's suicide. There's all sorts of stuff happening right now where we are more and more needed as people that really have a mission to help people. So now is wonderful opportunity to take advantage of this time where we're at home. We've got more time. We've got more opportunity. We've got incredible online platforms to connect and help people, and I think, look, I'm happy at home. I'm happy sitting here in my PJs with my fluffy socks on, and you know, having fun.
Absolutely.
So I love this. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much for sharing. And I really appreciate, again, you giving us your time and giving us some amazing insight. Did you have any last thoughts or ideas you wanted to share?
I just have one thing and to say to everyone, believe in yourself, believe in your power, believe in your message. You know, you will impact lives. And I think the biggest thing that stops people is that, well, am I good enough? And I know I talk to aspiring authors all the time, and they doubt their message. They doubt whether people will be interested in their message, that they can actually have an impact. And every single person here will have a massive impact and an incredible ripple effect. So I just want you to believe in that. For me, the one thing that's transformed my life, and this was, you know, my first book was published 16 years ago now. That's transformed my life, my business. It's given me more credibility. It's given me more confidence. It's opened doors. So if any of you have thought about writing a book, I would definitely do it. And now is the time to do it while you're at home, and, you know, do it. And if you feel like you need help, please reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, for anyone who'd like to reach out, from a collaboration perspective to speak with one of the panelists today, do reach out to me. I'm happy to make, any connections. And then, and Sabrina, Andrew, and Christian, if you guys want to go ahead and put, your emails for connection on the chat, feel free to do so. And I just wanted to thank all three of you again, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for giving us the time. Thank you for giving us these insights and for sharing all of that with us. I really do appreciate it. Hope you guys will stick around. We're going to be launching into a little bit of a presentation now on the coaching industry. So I'll begin sharing my screen just so everyone can see. I give credit where it's due to our wonderful Chief Product Officer and co-founder, Kelsey Daly, for helping me make these presentations, which I would absolutely be completely inept at doing otherwise. So, deep thank you to her for that. And yeah, so let's go ahead and launch into this. So for anyone here who joined us a little bit later, right now we're just going to go over a presentation about Best Beings, internal research on the wellness coaching industry, just giving you guys some of our perspective on, the road and the path forward, moving on from here and what's currently happening. So we'll begin by taking a look at the industry itself. The life coaching industry in the US alone, actually for the first time this year, hit $1 billion in valuation. So it is a moment of significant growth for the industry. And this is an industry that itself is really just a sub-industry of the personal growth and coaching industry as a whole, which is an $11 billion industry. These are US numbers, by the way. So of course, globally, these numbers will tend to grow and grow. However, in the US, the personal growth and coaching industry sits at $11 billion, and the business coaching industry sits at $13 billion. And you can see here that there's actually quite a large degree of variety within this industry. And all of those industries have a tremendous potential, for both growth and for valuation. So, it's definitely a very interesting industry at the moment, and one that we really do expect will only be growing as time comes. So, this is, of course, due to many reasons. There's a lot of growth that's being experienced by the industry at the moment. And really it's because, of course, of our current times, but mainly because it's becoming more mainstream. Mental health care, wellness care, and those topics are becoming more mainstream, and we're seeing that reflected in the industry. So the personal growth and coaching industry are growing at a rate of 6.7% annually. The wellness industry as a whole globally is a $4.2 trillion industry. This is, of course, part of that industry. That industry is growing at a 3.2% rate annually. So very, very large industry, growing rapidly. And the coaching industry as a sub-industry of that, $11 billion, growing at a rate of 6.7%. That means that the life coaching industry by itself is expected to reach $1.5 billion in valuation by 2022. So significant growth is being experienced in the industry. It's definitely a time of tremendous opportunity. And very importantly, the decreasing stigma that we're seeing around this topic is really leading to an increased adoption. However, we found that there's still quite a bit of lacking education around this topic, which is impacting the mainstream adoption, of coaching and wellness services. So, as you can see here, 60% of college-age students, this is up almost 13% from 2015, but 60% of college-age students see mental health care and wellness care as a sign of strength. So it's increasingly turning from something that was generally seen as a sign of weakness or something negative to something positive and a sign of strength, becoming more mainstream, adopted by this crowd. Of course, this demographic is quickly becoming the main spending demographic in the market. So it's very important that this is the demographic that's showing an increased adoption around this topic. 80% of employers plan on increasing wellness programs in the next years. These numbers have actually risen during the current situation. However, and this is an industry that's expected to top 100 billion by 2021. So corporate wellness is a vast, vast industry growing very rapidly. However, that being said, it's still the case that the majority of adults in the US consider mental health and wellness care far too expensive to engage in. So 65% of adults we surveyed reported that they didn't believe they had enough time or money to devote to their wellness daily. And 40% of those same said the same, but at a weekly scale. So it's still the case where many people don't see this as a priority. They don't see this as a foundation, and there needs to be increased education around this topic in order to really lead this to mainstream adoption as we want to see. So a few more trends, really that we're seeing around the industry is that trend of going digital, bringing your services to a digital platform and offering them in a digital capacity. So 75%, McKinsey actually came out with this research recently, 75% of consumers who are using digital channels for the first time indicate that they will continue to use them when things return to normal. And in only 8 weeks, industry experts are saying that consumer and business digital adoption has moved forward 5 years. So this represents a unique opportunity for any coaches out there who can quickly transition their services online and begin offering their services online in order to reach a wider customer base. Of course, this gives you opportunities to see customers regardless of their demographic or of their geographical location. It allows you to access much wider audiences, but brings its own complexities in terms of the challenges around setting up your business online and really marketing yourself online. One of the very important things is that we're certainly going to see an increase in the adoption of these services. So as I mentioned, 75% of consumers are using digital channels for the first time, indicate they'll continue to use them. However, the rate of consumers that are actually using digital channels in the wellness industry approaches 70%. So regular users are using digital channels very frequently, and that's expected to increase after the current situation and due to the current situation. As a matter of fact, there was an 1,000% increase in the use of the Federal Emergency Hotline for people in emotional distress from last April to this April. So a 1,000% increase in the use of a channel that is very closely linked to digital channels, texting and phone calls. And 50% of Americans reported that their mental health and wellness was significantly impacted by the current situation. Again, while these it is a very serious situation, it does represent a unique opportunity for any coaches out there who can use this opportunity to really scale their business. One thing that we are seeing is that, over the last month, over 20,000 people texted the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration hotline, a significant increase over previous months and previous years. And many consumers are really stepping away from traditional in-person methods of therapy to more telehealth and tele-wellness, as we call it. And furthermore, the majority of consumers that we interviewed actually mentioned that easy, efficient, and simple to use services are services that they'll continuously gravitate towards in the future. So really making your offering efficient, making your offering widely available should be a top priority for any coaches and anyone in the wellness industry. So a few challenges, though, that arise when we're moving towards a more digital channel. So of course, this industry is growing. It's growing at a time of a lot of change, which means that there's all the more work that is required from you, from the coach, in order to differentiate yourself and really make sure that the market is seeing your specific and personal individual value. So the first question, and we cover this a lot in our interviews, that you want to be asking yourself is, what is my niche? How am I going to find my niche? Usually you can really resonate with audiences by drawing from your own personal, unique life experiences. You want to find your initial customers and more customers by really being able to draw personal connections to those customers. This is all going to be a part of your storytelling, be a part of your brand. So you got to remember, you're not only selling a product, you're selling a brand, you're selling your own personal image. And this includes your personal brand. So draw from unique experiences. It can be difficult to connect to clients, especially in a digital realm at a personal level, but it is very, very important. It is crucial that you find ways to do so. Creating more channels of communication, doing packages that include continuous communication, maybe emailing, texting, irregular phone or regular phone calls with your customers, things like that, so that your customers can feel supported throughout this time and feel that they have a deeper engagement with you will become increasingly important. So again, we're talking about finding your niche, and that does lead directly to that concept of search engine optimization. I think people might hear that and immediately be like, well, that's not for me. That is no longer an option in a digital environment. Search engine optimization becomes very, very important. So how can you start improving your search engine optimization? Well, you need to think about, what are the keywords that my customers are searching for? What are the things that they're looking for? What are the words that they're going to search that are going to bring them to me? What do I want to bring? What do I want to direct to myself, right? So those are the words that you very purposefully need to include in your offerings, in your online presence, in your website. You want to be including those keywords that are going to show up in search. Your objective really is that if someone searches your name, or at the very least your name in wellness or your name in coaching, your service is the first thing that comes up, right? And that can be very difficult to do. With Google. Of course, you can always reach out to us, and that's something we're happy to help with. A good example of that differentiation and finding your niche is that actually for millennial coaches, it can be very difficult to convince older clients to work with them. Of course, there might be a perception of that lack of accreditation for younger coaches, which is certainly not true. However, for older clients, really what it is that their experience, a younger coach's experience doesn't speak as much to an older client. So for a younger coach, it might be important to focus on a smaller demographic, on a younger demographic, to really allow for more in-depth adoption. So here's just a few examples, of course, just to get your gears turning. If you haven't found a niche, these are a few of the more popular niches today. However, that's the beauty of niches. If you can find the right one, if you can find your right audience, your message will resonate and it will speak to them. One quick note on personal brand, which I mentioned here on the previous slide. I'll leave this up for anyone who might need inspiration. One quick note on personal brand is LinkedIn. So, LinkedIn is a platform that's certainly growing significantly, and is a platform that is not unlike Facebook and Instagram, does not have a saturation of content. So what that means is that unlike Facebook and Instagram, you can actually see when you post content on LinkedIn, people will see it. So right now we have about 500 million users on LinkedIn. There's still a content deficiency. As I said, less content is being produced than people exist that consume it, which means your content will get views. I highly recommend setting up your web presence on LinkedIn. I highly recommend begin posting very regular updates. And one of the things that I would also recommend is that you find 2 or 3 topics that you really believe tell your story, represent your brand. So for example, for myself as a startup co-founder, those topics are startups. I'm an immigrant. Immigration is a big topic that I cover, and then teamwork and communication within a team. So those are the 3 topics to which I post content about, and all of my content is run under that lens so that I can begin building a very specific audience around that content. You can do that organically, easily on LinkedIn. I would definitely recommend starting today. It's a very valuable platform for anyone in the wellness industry. It is difficult to be both a skilled and a successful life coach. What do we mean by that? Well, a lot of the coaches who actually end up making the most amount of money are coaches who are spend the most amount of time marketing themselves, right? So they spend a lot on marketing, they spend a lot of time on marketing, which means they don't spend as much time actually helping their clients and helping as many people as they could. So as we mentioned before, clients are increasingly expecting to see a deeper degree of interactivity from you, which will cost you time, of course, and will lead to less time that you're getting paid. So how do you go around that? The average coach will spend only 20 hours of their 40-hour week actually seeing clients, which means they're only spending 20 hours getting paid. And the other 20 to 22 hours are spent on business management, managing your website, your invoices, messaging clients, researching, and continued education, which means you're spending a long time on business management and not a long time on customers. As a matter of fact, the average coach will spend between $1,500 and $3,000 a month on marketing, and will spend less than half of their professional time actually helping clients. So it's clear that this system needs to be far more efficient. it's clear that that would be beneficial to both coaches and clients. And that is really where Best Being comes in. So, Best Being is a platform that we've actually recently launched just a couple of days ago. It's a platform devoted specifically to coaches to help them both manage and run their businesses. We offer you very, very in-depth business management features, AI tools, analytics, all of the tools that you need to run your business under one umbrella. And if you are interested in signing up, I definitely recommend please reaching out to me at fparnas@bestbeing.com. I believe we will be posting a few links in our chat here for anyone who is interested in learning more. You can go to bestbeing.com/provider in order to learn more, but please do reach out to me so that I can, get you on your journey and help get you onboarded. I'm not sure what happened to my screen here, so I'll just go ahead and stop sharing. But now I will open up the chat to any questions. I'll leave my my screen open here for a little bit. Let me just put in my contact information back up on the screen. And if there's any questions, any comments, I would please ask you to share on the chat. As I said, I'll stay here for a second, and I really, really appreciate our panelists. I really appreciate everyone joining today, and I would just thank you guys so much for participating, for all the work you do helping people. Thank you to our panelists for giving us their wonderful time and their wonderful insight. I really do appreciate it. We will follow up with more information about our platform, upcoming events, how you can begin, tips and tricks on beginning to setting up and scaling your business. And we really do hope that to be hearing from all of you guys in the very near future. So thank you guys so much for participating today, and we will speak with everyone very soon.